A problem like number 7 is going to combine our multiplication rules and our addition rules. So root 2 getting distributed to root 45 plus root 5. The first thing that I can do is just distribute the root 2 and go about it that way. The second thing that I can do is maybe see if what's inside the parentheses can be combined. At first glance, they cannot. Root 45 and root 5 are not like radicals. It does not become root 50. I can see if root 45 simplifies, or I can just start by distributing. So root 45, the perfect square that goes into 45 is 9. So 45 is 9 and 5. So the square root of 9 is 3, and the square root of 5 is root 5. So 3 root 5 plus root 5. Let's talk about what's in the parentheses. So I'll bring down the rest of the problem. There is technically a coefficient of 1 right here. So 3 root 5 plus 1 root 5 is 4 root 5. So I'm taking root 2 times 4 root 5. So I'm taking root 2 times 4 root 5. So what's outside of the radicals, technically there's a 1 here if it helps you. 1 times 4 is 4. And what's underneath the radicals, 2 times 5 is 10. So the final answer is 4 root 10. The square root of 10 doesn't have any perfect squares, 5 and 2, but neither of those are perfect squares. So 4 root 10 is the final answer. And had you distributed the root 2 first, 2 times 45 is allowed to be combined to root 90 plus root 10. You would do the same kind of process. You would take out a 9. You'd get to the same answer. Okay, number 8 says the quantity 4 root 2 minus root 98 squared. So the first thing that I can do is recognize that 4 root 2 minus root 98 squared means that quantity times itself. So if I want to do it this way, I just have some very serious foiling to do. I'm not going to approach it that way. I am going to, well, at least not first. I'm going to see if the square root of 98 can simplify to have a root 2 in it, because it's going to make the problem easier. So I don't know a whole lot about 98. Let's see what 98 divided by 2 is. I'm going to use my calculator. 98 divided by 2 is 49. What a nice number to see when I'm doing radicals. So 98 is the same thing as 49 times 2. So the square root of 98 is the same thing as the square root of 49, which is 7, and the square root of 2, which is the square root of 2. So I've got 4 root 2 minus 7 root 2 squared. So since they are like radicals, 4 minus 7 is negative 3 root 2. And they want to take that quantity and square it. And the reason I'm keeping it in the parentheses is because hopefully by now we know that a negative times a negative is a positive. So this final answer is going to be positive. I can think about it as this times itself. So negative 3 root 2 times negative 3 root 2. So negative 3 times, I wrote that wrong. Negative 3 root 2 times negative 3 root 2. A negative times a negative, negative 3 times negative 3 is positive 9. We are multiplying. Root 2 times root 2 is root 4. Multiplying, yes, I am multiplying the 2 times the 2. So 9 root 4. And 9 root 4 is the same thing as 9 times 2, which is 18. So this whole business, 4 root 2 minus root 98 squared, is 18, point blank. It is. That's the final answer.